Interested in, Rodney, is obviously Chatham became a very, very busy dockyard during the war.
Yes.
Did you notice, to talk a bit about this escalation in the amount of work in terms of providing for the war effort?
Well, there was a number of vessels used to come in for damaged because of war, and they would be repaired in Chatham Dockyard, and we used to make gun shields and torpedo platforms that revolved for the torpedoes on, and we used to make those platforms for torpedo to be fired from, and things like that. And gun shields we used to make, made of bulletproof metal, which was very hard to work with, being hard.
Yeah. Any of them that came in?
Yeah, the Arethusa was a cruiser I worked on, and the London was another cruiser, and a number of frigates and minesweepers. And then when we used to do the refits, and that would mean stripping out the boiler and engine rooms, and renewing a lot of the stuff, the air supply through the ventilations, and to the engine and boiler rooms through turbo generators that collected the air and distributed it around the ship. Yes, that was all aluminium trunking with grills on the end of the trunking. You could alter the different positions in the engine and boiler rooms. Yes, I used to make those grills and fit them and things like that. I remember the Germans coming over with quite a number of them, and I remember the air and the Arethusa, the cruiser, opened fire on them, and I think a lot of the craft were Italians, I think, that came over, because it was noticeable that the Germans would have gone on, but when the Arethusa opened fire on them, a lot of these planes changed and turned round and went back from where they come from. You never believe it, would you? But that's what happened, yes. The Germans would have kept on and would have attacked their target. But, I think some of the others were Italians, I think. Yes, because where I should have been down in a shelter, I stood up against one of the workshop walls, and that was my shelter, and watched the Arethusa open up as she was in dock, and she opened up, and I stood there with my back to the wall of the workshop and saw these men on the Arethusa, stripped to the waist, firing the ships and getting the empty shells and throwing them aside and loading again and firing. That was on the Arethusa. Yes, they were really good. They really turned those planes round and experience. Yeah, because I ought to have been down in a shelter, and I didn't go down there. Yes, I was given one to go to, which was just a dugout. You went down steps, and that was there. But I wouldn't go down the thing, and I stood with my back to the wall of the workshop. Yes. Not that I was brave at all, it's just that I wouldn't go down the shelter. I'd rather take the chance.
In the war, when you weren't